All right, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the BLS podcast, aka the Biggest Little Sportscast. I'm your host, Kenny Moss, rapper and recording artist out of Reno, Nevada. Check out my latest mixtape if you feel inclined. Um, Other than that, man, let's get right into today's episode. We're gonna talk some football today. We're gonna talk a little bit of basketball today. Not really any baseball, but yeah, let's get right into it, man. We just finished up the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. It was super sick. My predictions this time around went way better than they did in the wild card weekend. I actually went 100% this time, so that's pretty sick. I went 100% on the spreads too, which is something I'm going to start doing. I'm going to start giving you guys my picks on the spreads when I do my picks for these games as well, just because I went 100% on the spreads too. So I figure why not? It might be fun to see like how well I can do week in and week out, telling you guys what to pick on the spreads. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, let's get right into reactions on the divisional round. So we'll start with Houston and Baltimore. Which was a game that I was pretty excited for. I had a feeling that Baltimore would kind of run away with it. I ended up taking Baltimore minus 9.5 on my spread pick. But I was hoping for a closer game. I was hoping that Houston would at least put up a fight pretty late into the game, and they did for the first half. It was even at halftime, but Baltimore really just pulled away both sides of the ball in that second half. They completely shut out Houston and went on to score, I believe it was like 24 points in the second half. So, yeah, Baltimore asserted why they were the number one seed. They showed everybody, that they deserve the number one seed in the AFC. And, Houston showed that they are still young. The week before, we kind of saw them play above expectations, ball out, and maybe it was just the home atmosphere and everything. But on the road here, we just saw that they were just too young. But Houston is going to be a force to be reckoned with for years and years to come in the AFC South. So Houston fans, this is not a season to be disappointed in. This is a season that, of course, this is a season to be super, super stoked about. You have the quarterback of the future. You have the head coach of the future. Defense played way above expectations. Yeah, man, and Houston just has a bright, bright future. The fans over there should be excited. CJ Stroud, he wasn't incredible in this game, but at the same time, still just did that thing that he does where he doesn't throw interceptions. He didn't throw a single interception. He wasn't sacked either. He was 19 for 33, 175 yards. So, CJ Stroud, even when he doesn't have a good game, he still doesn't really have a bad game. So that man is just incredible. Devin Singletary, who felt like watching this game, he was really trying to run his ass off, but really finished with just 9 carries for 22 yards. Let's talk about Baltimore. So Lamar Jackson finishing with no interceptions, 152 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And then also Lamar Jackson in the run game, 11 carries, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns there as well. So 4 touchdowns total, 250 yards total. Lamar Jackson looks like the MVP. I said this last episode. I think Lamar Jackson is by far the MVP. I think he proved it in this game. And we'll get into this later, but I think he's going to go on to prove it in the AFC Championship as well. But Lamar Jackson is incredible, man. And, he deserves to see an AFC Championship game. And he came into this game and earned it. Like, he played phenomenal. And everyone, I love it too because, yeah, he was great on the ground. And he had the 2 rushing touchdowns and everything, but he also just shut up everybody who says that he can't be a quarterback. Like, as a quarterback, even if you get rid of the rushing stats, he was 16 for 22, 152 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Even if you got rid of what he did on the ground, he still had a great game as a quarterback. And then you add in what he did on the ground, and it's just Lamar Jackson is unstoppable. And especially when he has the weapons that he has now, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, Isaiah Likely's been balling. Odell Beckham Jr., we know when it comes playoff time, he's a threat. You at least have to worry about him. Lamar actually targeted Nelson Aguilar a few times in this game. One of them was for a touchdown, I believe. So he has guys to go to. And, of course, the run game is the run game with Gus Edwards. They now added Dalvin Cook as well, and even Justice Hill was a big part of the run game here. So Baltimore has no weaknesses. Their defense is incredible, and all facets of their offense is incredible. They don't really have weaknesses. And it kind of is starting to feel like to a certain extent, we're on a collision course for Ravens Niners because it's two nearly flawless teams. I mean, yeah, it should be an exciting Super Bowl if those are the two that we end up getting. Let's get into the second game of that Saturday. So we had the Green Bay Packers heading into San Francisco to take on the Niners, or I guess technically heading into Santa Clara. Is that where the stadium is? Santa Clara. But yeah, so Packers on the road taking on the Niners, and this was another game where I had picked the Niners to win, but I had picked the Packers to cover the spread, and that's how it went. So Packers ended up losing this game by 3 on a game-winning touchdown drive in the fourth quarter, in which ended on a Christian McCaffrey touchdown. Who else? I believe that was McCaffrey's second touchdown in this game. Yes, it was. 252 yards for Brock Purdy, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Only got sacked 1 time as well. So Brock Purdy played a really, really solid game. George Kittle was great. 4 receptions, 81 yards, 1 touchdown. He did have a big drop, but outside of that big drop, he was incredible. Jawan Jennings actually was very involved in this game with 5 receptions. But yeah, man, Debo broke a couple big plays, or big chunks of plays. But the Niners looked like the Niners for the most part. But, man, did the Packers really give them a run for their money in this game. Jordan Love was great. He did throw 2 picks, including the one on the final drive to seal the game. But for the most part, I mean, from what you would expect from a first-year quarterback against a defense as elite as San Francisco, I would say Jordan Love played really well. Aaron Jones was a monster in this game. He had 100 yards. And then Romeo Doubs also had a really good game. 4 receptions, 83 yards. Jaden Reed got more involved in this game than he was in the wild card round, which is what I expect to see. Jaden Reed was a big part of their offense, especially winding down towards the end of the year there. But yeah, and I was actually more so impressed. I think in the wild card round, I was more so impressed with the offense of Green Bay. I think in this game, I was actually more so impressed with their defense. I thought that this could end up being a high-scoring game if Green Bay, the Niners' defense is elite, so it's hard to put up even just 20 points on them like they did. But I could see this being a pretty high-scoring game where, San Francisco gets in the 30s, Green Bay's in the 20s. And, yeah, San Francisco got 24 with that game-winning touchdown, but for majority of the game, they had held San Fran to only getting in the end zone twice up until that last one. So I was actually very impressed with Green Bay's defense in this game. Yeah, man, it was an exciting game. This was one of my favorite games of the divisional round. I think it's probably my second favorite game of the divisional round. It was super fun to watch. Niners look scary, and we'll get into their matchup in a second there. But the first game of Sunday was Tampa Bay visiting the Detroit Lions. This place was rocking. That stadium was loud as hell. It was a super, super fun game to watch just for that environment alone. But yeah, Jared Goff was great. No interceptions, 2 touchdowns, 287 yards. I had actually taken his under, which was 286.5, and he got 287. So shout out to Jared Goff. Jahmyr Gibbs was incredible in this game. He broke some really big plays, had a touchdown that was huge. Finished with 9 carries for 74 yards, but he also had 40 yards through the passing game as well, so over 100 yards and a touchdown for Jahmyr Gibbs. Amon-Ra St. Brown was great. 8 receptions, 77 yards and a touchdown. He was great. Sam Laporta was great. 9 receptions, 65 yards. And really, I mean, Jared Goff spread the ball around. Like he hit Jamison Williams a couple times, hit Brock Wright, hit Josh Reynolds a couple times, hit David Montgomery for three receptions, hit Jason Kabinda. so I mean, Goff was spreading it around a little bit there. On Tampa Bay's side of things, they actually played this game closer than I thought they would have. I had taken Detroit to cover the spread at -5.5, which they did end up doing. But I actually thought that they were going to win by like a pretty significant margin. Like I thought it was going to end the game on a 2-possession game. But that wasn't the case. Tampa Bay put up a really good fight. That big play to Mike Evans to end the first half that allowed them to tie it up going into halftime was huge. I feel like if that play doesn't occur, this game is not as close as it ended up being. But Tampa Bay put up a real fight, man. That Tampa Bay defense is the real deal. Todd Bowles is a phenomenal coach. And Baker, I think, really balled his ass off this season. I think he proved a lot of people wrong this season who said he couldn't be a good quarterback. I think Baker proved he's a good quarterback this year. Rachaad White was very good, towards the end of this season. He was not very good for majority of the season, but towards the end of the season, he was really solid for them. Cade Otton was great for them in this game and all season long in general. So Tampa Bay, this is not a season or an ending to be disappointed in. If you're gonna lose to anybody, you want to lose to the Lions. That's one of the teams where you can be like, well, shit, they deserve it. Like they haven't won shit. So yeah, Tampa Bay, this is not anything to be disappointed in. But nonetheless, I am super excited to see the Detroit Lions moving on to the NFC Championship. Never thought I would say that. Who would have thought that the NFC Championship would ever include the Detroit Lions? But here we are, man. History is made. So let's get into the final game of that Sunday. Kansas City Chiefs visiting the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. And this was a game where it was really kind of a toss-up when I looked at the teams overall. And the deciding factor that made me go with not only Kansas City to win, but to go with Kansas City to cover the spread. Well, I mean, obviously they were underdogs here. But the deciding factor for me was Patrick Mahomes over Josh Allen. I just have more faith in Patrick Mahomes as a quarterback. And so that's why I ended up going with the Chiefs in this one, and they came out on top. Now, in the first half, it wasn't as evident, but in the second half, it felt like Buffalo could not throw for shit. It felt like the pass game became non-existent, and they were relying entirely on running the football or on Josh Allen being able to scramble out and make something happen. And that just wasn't going to get it done against the Kansas City Chiefs offense that, for the most part, was nearly perfect in this game. I mean, if not for their last drive heading into halftime, not giving them enough time to do anything, and if it were not for the fumble that ended up going in the end zone and turning the ball over to Buffalo, if not for that, I mean, they had nearly a perfect game. They put up points every single quarter. They put up at least a touchdown in all three of the last three quarters. I mean, Kansas City's offense did not look like they were struggling at all. 97 yards on the ground for Pacheco and a touchdown. And then Travis Kelce's 5 receptions, 75 yards, and he had 2 touchdowns. MVS had a absolutely insane catch in this game. That was huge. Rashee Rice was very good as well. 4 receptions for him. Patrick Mahomes, as always, was spreading the ball around. Noah Gray, McCole Hardman. So, yeah. I mean, Kansas City looked unstoppable on the offensive end. Their defense came up with huge stops towards the end of that game. And everybody's going to point fingers at Tyler Bass, right? Everybody's going to be like, Buffalo was in field goal range. The game should have been tied up. They should have had a chance to go to overtime. Look, man, this loss is not on Tyler Bass. Like, yeah, he missed the field goal that would have tied it. If you focus in like that, then sure, you can make the case that this is on him. But if you look at everything surrounding that field goal, Buffalo got, after the touchback, they got the ball again after that as well. Buffalo had so many chances to go down the field and even get in field goal range more than just that one time, and or get in the end zone. They really should have been getting in the end zone with how stacked this offense is. And I understand they didn't have Gabe Davis, but you lose to the Chiefs all the time. You gotta go get you have to take matters into your own hand if you're Josh Allen and this Bills offense, and you have to say, we're going to go get in the fucking end zone and win this game. And they didn't do that. So I think that Tyler Bass missing that field goal was karma for the Bills because they didn't deserve that field goal, man. They had plenty of opportunities to go win this football game, and the pass game was just non-existent in the second half. It felt like, I don't know if maybe Josh Allen was just scared of throwing a pick or something like that, but it just felt like in the second half, the pass game became non-existent for Buffalo. And, Yeah, man, I don't put this loss on Tyler Bass at all. I put this loss on the Buffalo Bills offense not being able to take advantage of opportunities that were gifted to them. Like that touchback, I mean, Kansas City was about to score and completely make it a two-possession game. It was going to be terrible. Everything was looking terrible for Buffalo. The football gods give you a gift in the fumble in the end zone for the touchback. They give you an absolute gift, and you go 3 and out. So, I mean, I don't know. I think that's the difference maker in these kind of games. You got to take advantage. When the football gods give you a gift like that, you have to take advantage of it. And when you don't take advantage of it, I mean, you don't deserve to be on the winning side, man. Like you got to take advantage of every opportunity, and the Bills just didn't. So I can't put this loss on Tyler Bass, and that's that. that's where I stand on that. Let's get right into the predictions for the conference championships. So out in the AFC, we have Kansas City visiting Baltimore, and the lady interviewing Patrick Mahomes at the end of last week's game asked him, like, I know it's early, but looking ahead to Baltimore, like, what do you think, or what are you seeing, whatever, like something along those lines. She asked him something along those lines. And he said, they got a phenomenal defense. No weaknesses there. Their run game is incredible. Their pass game is incredible. They got an MVP in Lamar Jackson. There's no weaknesses over there. And then when he finished the interview and went to walk away, he had this look on his face like, oh, fuck. So I don't think Patrick Mahomes is scared to play the Ravens, but I think that moment, that face that Patrick Mahomes made, I think was a moment of, oh shit, this team is fucking scary. And that's how seriously they should be taking the Ravens. They should be taking the Ravens as though, oh shit, this team is fucking scary. We should be scared to play that. You shouldn't be scared to play anybody, but we should be taking this matchup extremely seriously. And that's because the Ravens are like that, bro. Like, their defense is phenomenal. They didn't even have Marlon Humphrey, and their pass defense was still shut down one of the best quarterbacks and one of the hottest passing attacks in the league in the Houston Texans last week. So their pass defense, phenomenal. Their run defense, phenomenal. I mean, defense is flawless. You look at the offensive side of the ball, flawless. Lamar Jackson, come on, man. He's the MVP. We already talked about it. He's got weapons now. They got the run game and everything. We talked about how deadly this Ravens offense is. And when you look at it matched up with Kansas City, so we look at the Bills and Chiefs game, Josh Allen ran all over Kansas City, like ran them to death. And if Josh Allen is going to do that, and especially Willie Gay being in or out of this game is going to be huge because of this reason. But Josh Allen doing what he did to Kansas City, I would be terrified for what Lamar Jackson is about to do to Kansas City, because Lamar Jackson is even more of a run threat than Josh Allen is. So I'm nervous. I'm nervous for Kansas City's defense facing Lamar Jackson after seeing what Josh Allen did to them last week and how they were barely able to edge it out. I'm not really nervous for the Kansas City offense, if I'm being honest. I mean, they got Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Andy Reid calling the plays. Pacheco, the Kansas City offense is going to do what they do. I think this is going to be a really close game. But man, I think I'm going to give the edge to Baltimore here. I think Baltimore is going to the Super Bowl this year. Just after seeing what Josh Allen did to Kansas City's defense, I think Lamar is going to do even worse. And this just feels like Baltimore's year. And maybe there's a little bit of that whole like conspiracy theory that the colors of the Super Bowl logo pick the two teams that's swaying my opinion here. But I'm going to act like that's not the case, and I'm going to act like I just really think this is the year that the Baltimore Ravens get there. It's going to be tough for Kansas City to go in on the road. This is going to be their first AFC championship not being played in Arrowhead. But I think they proved last week that it doesn't really matter where they play, they're going to be Kansas City. To a certain extent, this game is a bit of a toss-up to me, and maybe it is what I'm hoping to happen that is making me edge it out. But I think I'm going to go with the Ravens. I think Lamar is going to have a great game through the air. I think he's going to have a great game on the ground because I think he's going to be so deadly on the ground that Kansas City is going to have no choice but to open up the air game for him. And with all the weapons he has now, I think he's going to take advantage. I don't think it's going to be a similar story to previous playoff games for Lamar. This Baltimore defense is good enough to me to not allow a damn near perfect game like Buffalo's defense allowed. So yeah, man. I'm going Ravens to the Super Bowl. And then I'm going to go with, we got Detroit visiting San Francisco and the Niners. And in this game, I'm going to go with San Francisco. San Francisco is too stacked to not pick them. You look at their defensive line, it is probably the best defensive line in football. You look at their linebackers, Dre Greenlaw, Fred Warner, two of the best linebackers in football. Their secondary, one of the best secondaries in football. Their offensive line, Trent Williams, phenomenal. Bro, there's no weakness. And some people might point to Brock Purdy and say, "Oh, that's the weakness." Second-year quarterback, young guy, was the last pick in the draft. Some people say he's a system quarterback. I don't see that, man. I think Brock has proven to me that I know he's a second-year quarterback, but he's shown to me that he looks like an experienced quarterback. He looks like a vet majority of the times. He's not perfect. No quarterback is perfect, but he plays about as well as you could ask him to, if not better. To me, Brock Purdy has exceeded all expectations, if you ask me. But yeah, I don't see a weakness anywhere on this Niners team, and so that's why I have to ultimately pick them here. Now, if the Lions win, that would be insane. Lions in the Super Bowl would be incredible. Be super fun to watch as well, because that would certainly. The whole country would be rooting for them. Lions in the Super Bowl would probably be the most lopsided. Everybody is rooting for the fucking Lions because they've never seen anything close to this. They've never seen a game this important in their entire existence, and they have such a loyal fan base. It's really cool for Lions fans. But yeah, man, I just don't see them beating San Francisco. I think this is where the Cinderella story comes to an end. I think Detroit should be super excited for this team and MCDC and what the future holds for them. But it's too tough to beat this Niners team, man. It's too tough to beat this Niners team. So I'm going with the cliche answer of San Francisco and Baltimore in the Super Bowl. I think those are the two best teams. I think that's what it's probably going to end up being. And, we'll see if I'm right about that. But that's my picks, man. I'm super excited for it. I can't wait. The first NBA topic that I wanted to talk about was Pascal Siakam to the Indiana Pacers. Now, this is a big trade in my eyes because Indy was just kind of missing, to me, to be a real deal playoff team to where they can maybe make some noise in the playoffs. They were just kind of missing that one more all-star caliber player, and Pascal Siakam is that. A front court of Turner and Siakam is a front court that can still pace the floor and is super skilled, but is also very, very good defensively. Pascal Siakam is super versatile defensively. Miles Turner, we know what he can do as a rim protector. So that's a great front court for them. And then you got Tyrese Halliburton running the show with shooters in those wing spots. I think that turns them from, a team that was just a really, really good team to a team that is like a real deal playoff team now. I think Indy now is a team where you can see them giving some real deal squads some trouble. If they end up playing Milwaukee, could they get a couple games on Milwaukee? I think they could now. I wouldn't have said that before. I think before Milwaukee probably sweeps them or gentleman sweeps them. But now could I see Indy getting a couple games on Milwaukee, maybe making that a series? Definitely. Same thing with Boston. You give yourself such a versatile defender in Pascal Siakam to deal with the Jays. You increase your odds of being able to compete with Boston come playoff time. Now, do I think the Pacers are capable of beating any of these teams? Not really. I don't force, even if they were to force it to a game 7. I just think the Bucks and the Celtics they're too good of teams for me to ever pick Indiana coming out on top. But if you're Indy and you're looking to just take that next step towards where okay, we have our franchise player. Now we want to move towards a team that is actually competing in the playoffs and not just a team that is going to get to the playoffs. And I think this is a move that does that for them. I think they actually become a real deal playoff team with this move. And so that's why it's super exciting for Pacers fans. I don't know how Toronto fans feel about it. You get some picks in return and kind of start to try to build towards the future around Scotty Barnes and everything. But it's got to be weird to see Pascal go. I mean, he helped you guys win a championship. So it's definitely got to be weird for Raptors fans to see Pascal somewhere else. But yeah, I think it's a really cool move for the Pacers. I was actually pretty stoked when I saw it. It was a cool place for Pascal to end up. There was rumors that he would end up in Golden State, which I actually thought was going to happen, but I guess Golden State didn't want to give up Kuminga, which seems strange. Like, that seems like a no-brainer to me. Like, you have Steph Curry, you're trying to compete right now. Pascal Siakam would be great, and maybe you don't want to make Draymond feel like you're replacing him or something, but I don't know. But I think they should have pulled the trigger on that, but they didn't. Siakam goes to the Pacers, and I think it's a pretty sick move. Next NBA topic that I wanted to talk about. So the Boston Celtics played the Denver Nuggets recently in this past week, and it was in Boston. And for those who didn't know, the Boston Celtics were undefeated at home. They were 20-0 at home going into this game, and it was a nail biter of the game. Boston led for pretty much the entirety of the first half. Denver came back and made it a game in that second half, and score ended up being 102-100. Celtics, and I remember now, Jason Tatum missed the tying fadeaway jumper to send it to overtime. But this was a really great game. Potential finals preview. Denver definitely looks like a team that can come out of the West, and Boston certainly looks like a team that can come out of the East. So this was a possible finals preview. Denver did not shoot well from three in this game. They shot 26% from three, still managed to win the game. Boston didn't shoot great either, but they did shoot better than Denver did. But Denver definitely shot better in general from the field. So Boston was only 43% from the field, which is not the greatest. They were chucking up too many threes, if you ask me. But, that's their style of play. That's what they do. That's Missoula ball. They chuck up threes. But this was a tough one. As a Celtics fan, this was a tough one to stomach because the undefeated record at home, you just wanted to see how far it could go. And, there's no shame in losing it to the Nuggets, especially there's no shame in losing it to the Nuggets by 2 when you have a poor shooting night. There's no shame in that, but, man, just if Tatum just hits that shot and it goes into overtime, there's a chance for things to be different. But this was a great game nonetheless. I mean, I'm super excited if this is a finals matchup. As soon as this game ended, I was like, man, I'll take 7 games of that. Murray and Jokic went crazy. Both had 30+. 20. Derek White was the leading scorer with 24. Tatum finished with 22. Had a poor shooting night. Kristaps Porzingis finished with 21. Jaylen Brown had a poor shooting night, finishing with 13. So poor shooting night against the defending champs. Only lose by 2. Not the end of the world for Boston. You're still the number 1 in the power rankings. You're still the number 1 seed. All these things, but it hurt to see that perfect record at home dissipate. The next topic that I want to get into for NBA, the parity in the league right now. This year, in particular, what I want to get into with this topic is the fact that there are 12 play-in to playoff caliber teams in both conferences. So if we look at, we'll start with the Western Conference, because the Western Conference is the one that everybody already says is stacked, right? So let's start with that one. San Antonio and Portland and Memphis, they're not doing anything. We know that, right? But everybody else. So obviously the top 6 right now are Minnesota, Oklahoma City, Denver, LA Clippers, New Orleans Pelicans, and Dallas Mavericks. And then the 4 play-in squads right now are Phoenix Suns, Sacramento Kings, Los Angeles Lakers, and Utah Jazz. And then the 2 teams outside of the play-in are the Houston Rockets and the Golden State Warriors. All 12 of those teams are playoff caliber teams. I mean, you look at the top 3 I mean, you're not going to argue that the teams that are the top 6 seed are playoff caliber. We know that. They're a top 6 seed. Look at the top 3 of the play-in. Phoenix, Sacramento, LA. All of those, no one's arguing those are playoff caliber teams. The only 3 teams that you can make an argument that aren't are Utah, Houston, and Golden State. And, I can see where you're coming from if you say that. But if any one of them makes the final play-in spot, I mean, they're going to have a winning record. Whichever one of them gets there is probably going to have a winning record. So it's like, man, I'm baffled. I'm baffled at the parity right now. To me, there is 12 play-in to playoff caliber teams in the Western Conference. And if we look at the East, there's 12 play-in to playoff caliber teams in the East as well. So we can cut off the Pistons, Wizards, and Hornets. They're not doing anything. But everybody above them, Toronto, Brooklyn, Atlanta, Chicago, Orlando, Indiana, and then the top 6 seeds right now. I mean, the 2 that are out of it are Brooklyn and Toronto. And I think Brooklyn is a play-in team. I think Toronto is a play-in team. I think in a 7-game series, Brooklyn and Toronto could give most of these play-in teams a tough go at it. Now, granted, they're not going to play a 7-game series. The play-in tournament is only 1 game. But I don't know, man. I'm super impressed with the parity in the league right now. We have 12 really, really good teams, competitive teams in each conference. And it's awesome. It's awesome to see right now. The league is in a very good place. That was a quick topic, but I really wanted to mention how I see 12 really good squads in both conferences, which is just super, super, super awesome to see. All right, and my final topic of the day. Every week I want to look forward at the NBA slate for the week and just kind of give you guys the highlighted games. So what games I think are worth taking note of and making time to sit down and watch. So, because there's too many games for you to watch all of them. Everybody has a life and everything. So let me just pick out the ones that are, the highlights, the primetime games of the week, I guess. So for starters, Tuesday night on January 23rd, Clippers play the Lakers on TNT. Battle of LA, LeBron and Anthony Davis, Kawhi, PG, James Harden, just Battle of LA, stars everywhere on Primetime Network. Should be a great game. That one is the first on my list. Second highlight of the week for NBA. Wednesday, January 24th, Suns visit Dallas on ABC. Rematch of the Suns and Phoenix playoff series, which they have a ton of history, especially between Devin Booker and Luka. So get more of that. Should be super exciting. And also those 2 teams are pretty close in the standings, so should have an impact on the standings in the Western Conference as well, also on primetime TV. The third highlight I have is Thursday, January 25th. Celtics go to Miami. That's live primetime on TNT. Again, Celtics just trying to get their revenge with their new squad against the team that they lost to in the Eastern Conference Finals. So a rematch of the Eastern Conference Finals. Miami is looking to just frustrate the fuck out of Celtics fans and still beat them. And Celtics are looking to prove that it's different this time around. We got a new look squad. So should be an interesting game. Saturday, January 27th, we have the LA Clippers visiting the Boston Celtics in Boston. You'll have to catch that one on League Pass. That one is not on primetime TV, but the reason why I have it here is because it's a potential finals preview. the Clippers look like they could be the team to come out of the West, and Boston looks like they could be the team to come out of the East. So potential finals preview there. And whenever Boston and the Clippers play, it is always incredible. High chance of it going to overtime, high chance of it being down to the wire in a super close game with a ton of crazy highlights. Boston and Clippers always get up for each other. So even though it's a League Pass game, I had to put that one on this list. Also on Saturday, January 27th, we have battle of the top two MVP candidates. Joel Embiid heading into Denver to take on Nikola Jokic on ABC. They played recently, and Embiid actually got the best of Jokic. Sixers won that game, and Embiid played better, and Embiid kind of showed, like what I was saying in the last episode, that if he can meet the game requirements, he's the MVP. But Jokic has a chance to have something to say about that in this game, see if Jokic can get his get back and come out on top this time around. That one should be a super fun rematch between two of the best players in the league on ABC. Also on Saturday, January 27th, also on ABC. Not as serious of a highlight, but we have a little bit of a battle for a play-in berth with the LA Lakers going into Golden State. Now, obviously, this is LeBron versus Steph. That's another reason why I highlighted this game. LeBron and Steph, primetime television. But there's also that battle for both these teams are competing for a play-in spot. They're having rough seasons, and they're competing for a play-in spot. So that's a little bit more added weight to the LeBron and Steph matchup as well. And then the final highlight that I have for this upcoming week in the NBA is Monday, January 29th. We have another possible finals preview with Milwaukee visiting Denver. You'll have to catch that one on League Pass as well. That's not a primetime game. But the Milwaukee Bucks, possible team to come out of the East, and Denver Nuggets, possible team to come out of the West, matching up with each other on Monday afternoon. So go check out that game. That should be a super fun game. Giannis, Jokic, Dame, and Jamal Murray. So that one should be super fun. But that's all I have for the highlights, NBA highlights of this upcoming week. If you can catch any of those, make sure you do. Those are the big, huge games of the week for NBA. Let me know in the comments below, what do you guys think is going on? What's your reaction to the NFL Divisional Round? What do you guys think is going to happen in the conference championships for the NFL? What do you guys think of the Siakam trade? Let me know everything. Tell me everything down below. Plugs real quick. Go check out K Reviews Podcast on YouTube or anywhere you get your podcasts. Link for that will be in the description below. Also, go check out my latest mixtape, Las Sombras, and my album that dropped earlier last year as well. You can find that anywhere you listen to music. Link for that will also be in the description below. Other than that, is another great week of talking sports, and I'll see you guys next week. Oh, by the way, I want these episodes to come out Tuesday. So for the most part, these episodes are going to be coming out Tuesday during the day, maybe Monday night, but for the most part, coming out Tuesday during the day. But yeah, that is how I want this to go. Every Tuesday, you guys should get a new BLS episode. That is the schedule. All right. With that being said, peace, guys.